Hello, everyone, and welcome to the New York Empoleon's Week 2 Team Builder of the PBAL Season 5. This week, we are taking on the Portage Herdiers, coached by just Kurt. Just Kurt is the only coach. We picked up a victory last week, thanks to Coma being a baller, as it do. So we're going to try again this week to see if we can pick up another victory. His team is horrifying, though, and the matchup is questionable at best. I'm starting to realize that, like, this team that I was like, they'll never have a bad matchup. It's got some mediocre matchups. But anyway, his team is Alakazam, Tauros, Kyurem, Rotom Wash, Skuntank, GMax Kingler, Cubfu, Aegislash, Rhyperior, Clefairy, and Amoonguss. So there's a Cubfu, there's a Clefairy. Interesting. But there's also an Aegislash, Kyurem, Alakazam, Rotom Wash. Like, there's a lot of threats on his team up and down. And we're going to start off by saying Nasty Plot Alakazam goes ballistic against my entire roster. I have very few answers to it. So if I'm expecting it to come. If it doesn't come, that's fine. Alakazam's still really good, but it's not as good if it's not Nasty Plot. So Nasty Plot's a problem. I've got to deal with that. First mon is going to be the Vikaval. It's going to be agility this week. It has just enough speed to outspeed Alakazam after an agility if Alakazam's not scarfed. So outspeeds everything on his team. Alakazam's fastest mon after an agility boost. And we have Flash Cannon, Bug Buzz, Energy Ball, which covers pretty much his entire roster, which is pretty solid. I'm okay with it. And just being able to hit things super hard. This is a breaker more than it is a sweeper, but at the same time, getting the agility boost, super useful. No electric stab because look at his roster. He has no electric weaknesses. I mean, he's the Kingler, but the Kingler doesn't take an energy ball well either, nor is it like a Bug Buzz. So I was like, it doesn't really, I don't need the Thunderbolt this week in order to be successful here. Next up, we have the Cinccino this week, rocking out with the Triple Axle, Bullet Seed, Tail Slap, and U-Turn. And Skill Link, obviously, as you guys might have been able to tell, had a long and arduous debate about whether or not to run Triple Axle or Rock Blast this week. Opted for the Triple Axle. I'm rocking King's Rock. We'll see if we get any flinches with it. Should be interesting. This thing gets hard walled by Aegislash. Like, literally the hardest walled by Aegislash ever. So as long as the Aegislash is healthy, there's no reason for him not to go into it on this thing. Even if I had the Rock Blast, that wouldn't help at all. Obviously, the Bullet Seed can be 30% and a flinch with the King's Rock, maybe 40% chance to flinch or so. Triple Axle gives me about a 25% chance to flinch if all of them hit. But of course, each hit is 90 base power, or 90% accurate, and they can all miss individually. And each one that hits is more powerful, I think. Or maybe it's just the third one's the most powerful. I'm not even sure exactly how the move works. It's so new. More powerful with each successful hit. So I'm not, I'm not 100% sure. So it's like a 70 or 80% accurate move if you can factor in the fact that all of them are 90 base accuracy, which is weird, but okay, seems fake. But it does a lot of damage to the Amoonguss, which is one thing that also could potentially stop this thing. So I figured, it does like 60. If all three hit, it does like 60% to Amoonguss straight up, and has a 25% chance to flinch it. I'm cool with that. Let's just run it and see how it goes. Start there. Next up is the Manabuzz. This week is going to be coming with the U-Turn Roost knockoff and the Foul Play. Rotom Wash, pretty safe switch into this. Knockoff, super good against that. Rhyperior, similarly, doesn't mind switching into this. Knockoff, super good. Amoonguss, this thing comes in on Amoonguss. It's got the overcoat, so it can't be spored, and then goes for the knockoff, which is super nice. And just generally getting rid of items is super nice. U-Turn gets me out on things like the Kyurem, the Rotom, stuff like that, that could potentially switch into me, and I want to be in something else against. Next up is my Mew. Mew is going to be Rock Polish, Psychic, Shadow Ball, and Earth Power. Now, this Mew I do have to talk a little bit more about than my other mons. Mew has a very, very specific EV spread. Okay? It is a Calm Nature, max HP with a little bit of special defense investment. Guarantees it takes a Shadow Ball from a +2 Alakazam. Rock Polish activates my weakness policy. Outspeed the Alakazam. Go for the Shadow Ball. If Aegislash is still around, I definitely don't live a Shadow Sneak from an Aegislash afterwards. But I do, if the Alakazam doesn't hit me, take an unboosted Shadow Claw into a Shadow Sneak most of the time with this set. So there's all that. I'm outspeeding a Scarfed Alakazam after a Rock Polish, and then I can basically OHKO everything on his roster at +2 if he doesn't kill me first with some priority. That's basically where I was coming from with this set. It's got coverage for basically everything on his team except for like the Kingler, which what can I do about that? Kingler's a threat, and I got to deal with that as it comes. Next up is the Lapras. Speaking of dealing with the Kingler, it's going to be Freeze Dry, Hydro Pump, Dragon Pulse, and Ice Shard. I really wanted to run like Toxic or some sort of support move at all, Heal Bell or something. but I couldn't not have the Ice Shard. I need the priority. There's so many times when I just need to chip something down. Or the Alakazam, for instance, has a Focus Sash that I need to break. Ice Shard just gives me that little oomph to deal with it. So I'm gonna be running that just for things like that, like a Sash Alakazam that can just need that little extra chip, and I can handle it, like especially a Nasty Play Alakazam that's getting out of control. Dragon Pulse helps cover the Kyurem better than Freeze Dry or Ice Shard does, just because I do need that super effective coverage for it. But otherwise, Freeze Dry hits his team really, really hard, just super nice, and I definitely want to run this thing like I don't want to not use it if it's a good mon in the situation. If it's gonna die, that's okay. I just got to make sure I'm cognizant of the fact that it is my only priority this week. And lastly, we have the Coma O. Going to be running it back this week. It's going to be Autotomized Clanging Scales with a Throat Spray. So the other set from the physical set that I ran last week, the Sub Belly Drum set, we are going to be running the special set, Speed Boost, get that Clanging Scales boost off. His Fairy type is Clefairy. As long as that thing is weakened, I'm good. But until that thing gets weakened, I'm going to need to make sure that it's out of the way. Obviously, Clefairy hard stops this, just like straight up. But it's sort of a dead mon against most of my roster, so except to stop the Coma O from sweeping. So I do think I'll be okay, especially because it can't have Unaware. It can only have Magic Guard because Clefairy doesn't get Unaware. So Flamethrower at +2 or +1, if I can get the Clanging Scales boost off, is still going to be doing a decent amount of damage. That being said, I don't want to use this thing if the Clefairy's around. If I bring this in and the Clefairy is still around, I'm expecting that to just straight up come in, and I'm going to switch right out and double out into something else to maybe deal with Clefairy. Again, the rest of my roster deals with Clefairy just fine. This thing is the only thing that kind of gets walled by it, so definitely got to keep that in mind. But that's the roster this week. We are going to be having that battle in just a moment, so I will see you guys back here tomorrow with that battle. Hope you guys are enjoying the PBAL and the PCL content that's coming out right now. Thank you all so much for watching. Take care, everybody.